Hello everyone, this is ETV Special Edition and I'm Sintayo Tamrat with this edition. This edition will focus on a bigger project in Africa and particularly here in Ethiopia, and that is transforming the black people across the world, Purpose Black. I'm joined here with Dr. Fesai Shetu, who is the CEO of Purpose Black Ethiopia. Thank you so much, Dr. Fesai Shetu, for joining me.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Let's start it with how the very idea of Purpose Black came into your mind as a mega transformation agenda.
With regards to where the idea of Purpose Black was born, it was born in America. I don't know if you're aware that I used to live in America. I lived there after leaving Ethiopia. I went to the United States and lived there for 10 years. And for me, it was quite an experience because, you know, before that, I was living a very comfortable life here in Ethiopia with Unity University and things like that. But, you know, something leads to another, and I ended up in the US. And, you know, after living such a very, I can say, privileged life here thankfully, very privileged life here in the US, in Ethiopia, and then emigrating to the United States and expecting, you know, to live some sort of life there and things like that. And my experience was completely different. For the first time, I've had the opportunity to travel to the US many times before, but never had the opportunity to live there as an immigrant. And you know, the kind of experience that you have, you know, it's really for me was very shocking. And part of that, you know, and also looking around in terms of how blacks are being treated personally, and also all the other black people that you know I came across, and also in the media and everything like that. You know, as a black person, you always wonder, you know, for how long are we going to be treated like that, and for how long are we going to live like that? You know, you're a human being and you have feelings, and you know, the racism and things like that, particularly, you know, after Trump was elected and became a president, you know, how racism became like so, you know, in terms of became, you know, worse and things like that. And also, coupled with that one, you know, during the time of COVID, you know, it was the black community which was really very severely devastated by economically and so forth. And, you know, all these things combined, and, you know, everything, you know, you just feel the pain. And also in the news, you see all the things that were happening to the black people. I mean, those people who are drowning in the oceans, and, you know, the way they are treated in the, you know, the immigration camps and so forth and everything. You always wonder, you know, we are human beings. We're created equal. And why are we being treated like this one? What's our crime and things like that? And you feel the pain. So it's actually the pain that really led me to think that we shouldn't accept it as such, you know. As a human being, you know, whenever you're being mistreated like this one, you have two options. One is to accept it as it is and then just live, you know, and don't fight back. Or the other one is to say, no, you know, we have to find a way to get out of this situation. So for me, I chose the fact that, you know, there should be a way, there should be something that we have to figure out in terms of getting out of this quagmire that we are in. So that's what led to the creation of Purpose Black. I said that for more than 100 years, black people have been struggling for you know, dignity, nothing else. We're not looking for handouts or something like that, but at least a dignified life, to be treated as equal, to be treated as human beings, not to be, you know, pointed as if we are monkeys or something like that. And on top of that one, you know, like being killed, you've seen like on the news, I mean, how they treat their prisoners and things like that. In, you know, even people who didn't even commit criminals, how they treat them, how they kill them on street and things like that. And I said, you know, we've tried so much, and we've really been struggling and things like that, but it's not taking us anywhere. So I started, you know, thinking of what is it something that we can do, and after really contemplating a lot, and what I have really arrived at is that, you know, the struggle that we are making you know, it's not the kind of the effort that we are making is not the right one that we are making, because after so long, after 100 years, you know, we have not reached anywhere. So we said we have to find that an alternative solution. So what I found out is that the effort that black people have been making since, you know, civil rights movement, and right now, I mean, recently the Black Lives Matter and things like that, is not the people, black people were looking for political solutions. And that's not easy to achieve, because, you know, nobody, I mean, no society is willing to give away, you know, their privilege and all other things that, you know, they have. And you know, that's what the reality is showing us. So I said, that's not taking us anywhere, so let's look for something else. So I started looking into why are other societies, the whites and the Asians and things like that, influential right now. What's really helped them to become like that? So, you know, my assessment, you know, without exception, led me to one conclusion. There is only one single reason why they have become so influential and why they are being respected globally, and that is economic empowerment. Take any society, American society or European society, and for that matter, Chinese right now. And where was China like 70 years ago? It was like Ethiopia, a very poor country, backward, and George living like that. Why is China so influential right now? It's nothing else, because it's not because the Western countries are, you know, like say that, you know, let's give China, you know, political you know, recognition and things like that. Why they have become influential? The only reason why China became influential these days is because it has advanced economically. They have empowered themselves economically. The Americans were just like that. I mean, like 300 years ago, Americans were in civil war. They were fighting against each other, and these are immigrants who immigrated from Europe, and the poor people, the prisoners and things like that, who threw them across the ocean to America. But why did Americans become very successful and, I mean, influential and respected resistance globally? It's because of their economy. That's the same, it's true also for Europe and things like that. So no matter whatever we try, no matter whatever we do, unless economy comes into the equation, nothing is going to happen. So I said, that's where we have to focus. And I started sharing this idea with some of my friends, and fortunately, a few of them bought into it. You know, we really found out that in terms of really empowering ourselves for black people economically, we have everything that it takes to empower ourselves economically. Take land. I mean, food is going to be a very critical issue in the future.
Would you tell me some of the major goals for Africa?
If you really look at the big picture, is that the world has an economic system. And there is a way that economic system is designed. That economic system is designed in such a way that whatever economic resources or whatever economic benefits that comes out of that system goes one way, away from the black community into the rest of the world. Everything goes away from, is taken from the black community and it goes. That's how the economic system designed. My argument is that take the world's 1,000 fortune companies, which control the entire economic system of the world. There isn't a single black-owned company within that list. Everything. Take the world's financial system, go into transportation, go into hotel and tourism, go into the pharmaceuticals and medicine and whatever it is. Everything belongs to the rest of the other societies except blacks. So, whatever we need for our livelihood, we have to get it from them. So whatever we, wherever we labor and things like that, whatever we income, we end up ultimately giving it away to them. So unless we are in a position where we at least create some sort of, dynamics in such a way that there is some sort of, two-way movement, whereby at least some of that money that we generate comes back to us, we will continue being dependent on them. will continue being like looked down upon, and that's the big picture that we are looking at. We need to create that system, and in order to create that system, what do we need to do? We need to create those big companies that compete with the rest of the world. And what does that need? That needs that we come together and work together. So that's the big picture. That's what Black economic excellence, that's what Purpose Black is trying to do. And for us, our argument is we have whatever it takes to create that system, except one thing. And that thing is the willingness to work together. That's why we're saying that if we Black people, I'm not talking about 1.3 billion Black people, which we have. I'm talking about 0.0001% of those Black people are willing to come and work together and at least create a few companies that compete with these big global companies which are controlling the economic system of the world, then we will be in a big place. That's what we are trying to create. We are 100% sure that we can transform African economy, provided that we are willing to work together. It's not that we don't have the resources to transform, because that's possible, because if you have the resources, you can transform. But what's missing, the missing link, is our willingness to work together. I know a lot of people argue that, it's the Western countries that are, like doing things and things like that, that's making us fight against each other and things like that. If you externalize problems, you always end up being the victim. But if you are willing to fight it back, and we have the courage, the boldness, and the willingness to do it, there isn't any obstacle that you won't be able to overcome. So that's our argument. So we believe 110%, as I said it earlier, willing to try, capable enough to transform our economy.
Do you think that your solution can be just a powerful tool to extricate Africans from the major challenges? Because some people argue that the major challenge here in Africa is they need political solution.
Yeah. I mean, if you really look at that kind of thing, a lot of people say that is unless we change politics, that's going to happen. It's just the chicken and egg phenomenon. Some people say that we need to change politics to to impact the economics, and some people say if we change economics, then definitely politics will be changed and things like that. For us, as far as we are concerned, we have tried the first one, which is like waiting for politics to change to transform Africa. But trust me, it's the corporations, it's the businesses, it's the economic approaches that have brought about change in the rest of the world. So if we are not able to invent or create something of our own, at least we can learn from others in terms of really being willing to change to transform ourselves. The argument being is that if we Africans really focus on economic activities and models and create businesses that really are influential globally and things like that, trust me, the politics will change and transform itself. So as far as we are concerned, you asked me that in terms of Purpose Black, are we able or capable, or are we will we be able to change ourselves economically so that we can impact politics? I tell you 100% we can do it.
Well, Black people are just living across the world in a scattered way, and how did you find it when you try to manage the bringing together of these Black people from across the world?
A mountain out of a molehill, you can make it big, but if you really look at it seriously, this is something that can be done. My answer to this question is very simple: one person at a time. That's nowhere in the world have people come together, signed an agreement to change and transform, communities, societies, and the world. It's individuals coming together. It may be 1%, then 2%, 3%, 4%. Look at, I've mentioned to you about the Fortune 1000 companies. These are the companies which control the entire economy of the world. Look at them, each one of them. How many of these companies have been established by people coming together, signing agreements and things like that? 99% of them were established by few individuals. Maybe 1%, Amazon, Alibaba, Facebook, or whatever it is, you know, or maybe few individuals, 10 of them or 5 of them coming together and work together. That's the approach that we need to follow. For us, transforming the black, economy and things like that, it doesn't require for the rest of the entire black community coming together and working together and creating these big giant corporations and things like that. We're going to be doing it systematically and one person at a time, which is bringing in the willing, those individuals who are willing to work together and working together and being creative and creating those big companies that would be competing, and tomorrow maybe having 10 or 15 or 20 of black-owned companies on that list and being influential. It takes one company like Amazon to be so influential to influence the world. And that company has been established by one person. So why don't we, like 20, 15 or 30 of us coming together and create that, the next black Amazon? That's the kind of mentality that we have. I mean, when I argue this thing and present this thing to many of my, black brothers and sisters, that's the same question that comes back to me is that, how on earth are you going to, bring all this, fighting and, hating black people together and things like that? That's not our intention. That's for politicians to do, mobilize large people. For us, the business approach is very few individuals who are willing to work together. If we really work for a common goal of creating these giant corporations, my argument is that we can do it. Others have done it. Why can't we, black people who are willing to work together? So that's intentionally how we're going to do it. As Black Purpose Black, and as Black Economic Excellence, our intention is who are from within the 1.3 billion people, the few individuals who are willing to work together and pool our resources and then create the next giant black corporations who will be influencing on the global scale. That's what we are looking for.
How did you get the ease of acceptance as you just started to promote this idea among the government officials and also locals here in Ethiopia?
It's not easy because, first of all, they don't understand it. That if they don't understand it, I don't expect them to embrace it like so fast and things like that. So essentially what we are trying to do is do it. Show them that it can be done. Convince them by practice, not by preaching them and engaging them on a round table or something like that. So for this question, it's very challenging. It's going to be very challenging, but our belief is that once we start to demonstrate and to show to them that this thing can be done by actually doing it, they will come around. So that's our intention. But fortunately for us, when we came to Ethiopia and started Purpose Black Ethiopia, the first thing that we did is we went around and, at least out of courtesy, started to tell people in terms of what our intention is, the vision is, what's the impact of what we are trying to do is, and things like that. And fortunately, many of them have at least were positive in terms of their reception and in terms of their perception, in terms of their willingness to work with us and things like that. And we started it from the grassroots. So in terms of government officials, especially in terms of the regions and in terms of the zones where we are actually working, what we did is we went there and told them about our intentions and things like that. Most of them were willing to work with us, and in fact, with many of them, we have even signed MOUs and things like that. So our expectation was that there's going to be a lot of resistance. But our experience and in terms of what we found out is that they are willing to work with us, but of course, they have their doubts and they have their, in terms of, but so far we haven't encountered any, like pushbacks or, challenges and resistance. But at least they are watching, and in terms of reception, they're willing to work with us. And with a few of them, we have signed MOUs and things like that. But ultimately, they will come around in time, because even our approach is that we really want to show them that this thing can be done and make them comfortable in terms of their willingness and being willing to work with us. So essentially, in terms of, I mean, Purpose Black, the whole Black economic excellence idea was like conceived like 2 years ago. And 1 year was practically, like debating it and, discussing around it, and in terms of developing the models and things like that. So we didn't go into actual implementation. So in terms of when we finally decided with a model, in terms of decide as to what we really wanted to do and really crafted the vision and put the target and things like that. Finally, the next question was in terms of coming into Africa, into deciding which country to get into, because essentially, this is a big vision, as you can imagine. This is a huge undertaking. You cannot jump everywhere in one go. So essentially, you need to have a pilot. So we said, first of all, let's have a pilot country where we will launch this project and see how it goes. And then, fine tune it and things like that until we get it right. So once we get it right, so we can replicate the same model throughout Africa. So that was the whole approach that we really wanted to apply. So we had our own internal debates as to which country to get into. Some people were saying that Ethiopia is out of the question, because at that time when we really wanted to get into Africa, the situation in Ethiopia was not good, because there was war and there was election going on and things like that. So people were like thinking that we must be going out of our mind, crazy to get into Ethiopia at this moment. And also others were, because of that, they were pushing the idea of like going into another country, and particularly Rwanda, because we really wanted to. In fact, we also initiated some activity in Rwanda. But some of us were saying that, this is a huge undertaking. It's almost comparable or equivalent to what the civil rights movement was trying to do, because at that time, the civil rights movement was political solutions and political, to address the problem of Black people. That was a big initiative. It's a historic and momentous activity. That's almost comparable to what we are trying to do, is to restore the dignity of Black people through economic approach. This is a huge and historic initiative. So we said we shouldn't, because at that time during the consultation period of 1 year, 130 of us were involved or engaged in this project. All of us were Ethiopians. So how on earth are we going to give this historic and momentous initiative to another country, while those of us, those who started this initiative, all of us were Ethiopians. So we said, no matter what the challenges, let's try to get into Ethiopia, make an effort to get it going there. But if for whatever reasons we cannot, we have a lot of resistance and challenges. So we said that anytime we can go back to any other African country. So we decided, and we just came to Ethiopia and launched Purpose Black Africa, Ethiopia.
Well, now let's talk on the part of the project. I mean, just the major activities you have been doing here in Ethiopia.
Once we have decided that we're going to get into Africa, we know exactly what we're supposed to do. But by the way, there is, I didn't mention to you about, once we have crafted the vision in solving the problem of Black people, we have set up goals and targets. And those goals and targets were like in 15 years, within 15 years, by 15 years, we said that we have to, by whatever we are going to do, we have to impact 1 billion Black people. And the second target that we have is within 15 years, we have to create an economic ecosystem of 1.5 trillion US dollars. And thirdly, through the business undertakings or ventures that we are going to launch, we will be impacting 1 million Black enterprises. And the last and fourth target that we have is within 15 years, we're going to establish the largest and biggest Black narrative media organization. These were the 4 goals that we intended to achieve within 15 years. So these are our guiding goals. But we have the vision. We don't know how we're going to achieve those targets. So we started looking into, what is the kind of business that we need to do. So we have many options. We could get into energy, we can get into transportation, we can get into hotel and tourism, we can do all sorts of businesses. So we started discussing this thing, and in terms of determining and deciding what kind of business what we wanted to do, always we have to get back into your goals and your targets. So our goal and target is to, to impact 1 billion black people. So essentially, whatever we want, we will be doing and we want to do, it has to, be something that impacts large proportion of the black people. So the black people are in Africa, and most of the African people, where do they live and what do they do? It's agriculture. Okay. So they are farmers, or they live in rural areas and things like that. So we say that it has a justification and a rationale as to why we went into farming. It's just not because we love farming, or farming is profitable and things like that, because we want to impact a large proportion of the black people, and most of them, they live in agriculture. They live off agriculture, and they are farmers, or they live in the rural areas. So that's why we went into agriculture.
And finally, would you tell me how and to what extent this project helps Ethiopian farmers to improve their living standards and also their livelihood?
As I indicated earlier, the reason why we went into agriculture, because that's where the majority of the people live. 70% of Ethiopians live in the rural areas. Their livelihood is based on agriculture, and 40% of the Ethiopian GDP is dependent on agriculture. So, going into that sector has a lot of impact. If you really do something on agriculture, it has a lot of ripple effect throughout the economic activity of the entire country, because you're helping the majority of the Ethiopian people, and you're impacting a significant portion of the Ethiopian GDP. That's why we went into agriculture. So as to how we impact farmers, first of all, you have to learn as to what's the problem with regards to the farmers. So what we did was that we started assessing, we started studying into what's the objective reality in Ethiopia. The objective reality is very straightforward. Farmers are not benefiting from whatever they are doing. They are being taken advantage of. The system is not favoring them. So this is a very stark reality. They have been, for generations, they have been, living in poverty. We have not been able to transform subsistence farming. This is the very stark reality. Farmers are not connected with the market. It's the middlemen who are benefiting and reaping the farmers out of their benefits. So unless we are able to change this reality, objective reality, then you're not going to get there. You're not going to have any headways. You're not going to get anywhere. So this is what we really want to address. So we started looking into, what are the problems? Where could we make a significant impact? Some sort of inroads in terms of changing this really very, very sad reality in this country. So essentially, what we did is we identified that, unless we change subsistence farming into contract farming first, and second, unless we start adding value, which is value addition, which is agro-processing, into the system, and then unless we integrate the system with the market, which is essentially distribution system and logistics, the entire value chain system, then we're not going to make any significant impact. So we said, this is what we have to do. And this is a model that we really wanted to create. So essentially, we now we realized and we understand what the problem is, and we really know where we have to do something. Then the next step is in looking for a model or create a model that fully integrates this system, and then start implementing it. So we started looking into what are the models, because instead, the most reasonable thing that you can do is, instead of creating your own system, which is going to take us time, money, energy, effort, and things like that, we said, why don't we look for a model which has worked globally that we can apply, that can help us solve this problem. So after looking into a number of different models, we come into a conclusion that the marketplace model a model of like Amazon or a model of Alibaba or Uber or Airbnb and things like that, which has really helped create some of the biggest companies in the world, which is essentially what it is connecting the producers directly with the consumers by eliminating the middle system and disrupting the whole system. This is the exact model that really can help us really transform the Ethiopian farmers and things like that. So we brought that model here and started applying it. So our model is very, very straightforward. It's a P2C company, which is model, which is producer directly to consumer, eliminate the middleman, and in the process, whatever components that are very critical, integrate it into it and start implementing it. So essentially what is Purpose Black Ethiopia is doing is with regards to the farmers, help the farmers, provide them knowledge, input support, maybe finance, it may be fertilizer, or it may be chemicals, or it may be technology, mechanization and things like that. Provide them that one, work with them, and create a company which is owned by them, because they are the primary beneficiaries of this. They should be the primary beneficiaries of the system. Make them owners, and then if they pull up their resources, they can have the strengths and whatever it is to create these companies that will provide them financial support, input support, technology, mechanization, whatever it is, and then also contract with them, which is like make them contract farmers, because they don't need to worry about where would I sell my product and things like that. That way they would farm, you will collect the products from them, and then you can do two things. One is you can add values by agro-processing, or you can create a system where they can sell their products directly to the consumers. And that way, because you eliminate the middleman and you've shortened the chain, that way the consumers can get the product, these farm products, the produce, at a very affordable price, because you've seen what's going on with regards to the price of products and whatever in this country. I sometimes wonder how people live in this country these days. It's so exorbitant. It's yes, the price of commodities and things like that is unimaginable. I don't know how people live. So unless we do something about it, there's going to be a lot of problem in this country. So essentially, that's what we're trying to transform. Practically, that's what we're trying to do. And this system should be owned by the victims of this, what's happening right now. And by the way, we don't want, when we created Purpose Black, we wanted to be a Purpose Black of a company owned by the entire Ethiopian people. Import substitution is another outcome which is going to be, we'll be able to achieve, and then we'll save our hard-earned foreign currency. This system, what we are trying to create, has a lot of ripple effects throughout the entire economy in this country. Import substitution and also export. If you're able, we're exporting coffee, and take a very, one farmer and a very simple ordinary farmer. Do you think that he will be able to buy instant coffee and things like? He can't afford it and things like that. Nowadays, we're exporting coffee and we're importing instant coffee. Can you imagine? We're exporting sesame seed and we're importing oil and things like that. That's the kind of thing that we need to do. We need to focus on agro-processing, and then that will have many things. And one is we'll substitute import, and secondly, why don't we export the processed food? Look at, our supermarkets. Where does most of the processed commodities come from? Look at the instruction and things like that. Most of it is from Arab countries. These are deserts. Where do they get their products from? They get it from us, process it, and sell it back to us. So unless we are able to change this reality, why? The technology is there. Why aren't we able to do it by ourselves? It's just because we don't have the finances. If we are able to mobilize the finances and then bring in the machineries, it's going to be the other way around. We're going to be exporting it back to them. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Fassas, for joining me and sharing your ideas, particularly on this mega project of transforming the Black people. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Dear viewers, this is a conversation with Dr. Fassas Sheto, who is the CEO of Purpose Black Ethiopia, and thank you for joining me. See you another time.